Hello all, welcome to another episode of Law Library where we'll be talking about Enforcement Directorate. So over the period of time, Enforcement Directorate has been quite in news. So let us understand in today's video the specific structure, tenure, power and coming into force of Enforcement Directorate. So make sure to watch this video till the end. Currently, the director in charge of ED is Mr. Rahul Naveen, who had taken up the position after the tenure of previous director, Mr. Sanjay Kumar Verma, got over. If we talk about the establishment of ED or Enforcement Directorate, so it was established on 1st May 1956 as Enforcement Unit under the Department of Economic Affairs of Ministry of Revenue. Later on, in 1960, it got transferred to Department of Revenue. There are various acts of which ED takes care of. One such act earlier was FERA, that is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, which is now repealed by FEMA, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act. We'll be talking about this act and the other acts that ED takes care of in next few minutes. जब हम बात करते हैं कि ED किन मैटर्स में देखता है, तो फर्स्ट एक्ट दैट इज अंडर द जुरिस्डिक्शन और दैट इज अंडर द रेगुलेशन ऑफ ED इज COFEPOSA, that is Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities. So this act is basically enacted to prevent the augmentation of foreign exchange and the smuggling activities in the connected matters. Next act that we discussed just now was Foreign Exchange Management Act. That is, this act provides for regulation in foreign exchange and manages it. So ED also looks into under the domain of this act. Apart from it, Prevention of Money Laundering Act also comes within the jurisdiction of ED, where different assets that is being built by the parties or by the persons due to some specific involvement in crime or because of some corrupt money is coming under the domain of Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Apart from it, ED also looks into Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. This act basically was enacted in 2018 to ensure that the offenders, those who have fled away the country, the trial of those offenders or bringing back of those offenders to India to try them is dealt under the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. So this is basically the jurisdiction of Enforcement Directorate where ED deals in these matters. Now let us understand about the tenures and powers of ED. So when we look at the structure of ED, so at the head of the Enforcement Directorate is the Director of Enforcement Directorate. Apart from it, the rest of the posts are filled by various civil servant officers like IAS, IPS, IRS. Total post with ED is 1960 posts, out of which till date only 950 posts are filled. Rest of the posts lays vacant. When we talk about the location of headquarters of ED, so earlier it was Delhi, which was then again shifted to Madras, which is now known as Chennai. So now the headquarters of ED is in Chennai. Whereas in Delhi, Bombay, Kolkata and Chandigarh, we have regional offices, regional branch of ED. Initially, the tenure of Enforcement Directorate Director was fixed for 2 years, which was then in 2021 extended by central government, and it was stated that central government, if it wishes and if it has the discretion, it can further extend the tenure of Enforcement Directorate by 5 years, increasing 1 year at the time. And this is same that was done in 2021 for the CBI director as well. When we talk about the powers of ED, so ED is having, the director of ED is having the power to investigate and to prosecute in the related matters, the acts that we just discussed. So whatever is the crime, whatever are the offenses in these matters, ED can actually initiate investigation and prosecute the person. So these are the powers that are conferred to ED. When we look at the working of the ED, we have seen that ED closely work at national and international level with various organizations. So at national level, in order to ensure or detect the crimes involved with Prevention of Money Laundering Act, COFEPOSA, FEMA, and all these matters, Fugitive Offenders Act, ED closely works with income tax authorities, CBI, RBI, SEBI, even the National Narcotics Bureau. When we look at international level, ED represents India on various meetings with respect to Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So Financial Action Task Force, which was an international organization created in 1989, which deals with the money laundering matter and which makes policies and regulations with respect to money laundering matter. ED represents India in these meetings. Even the G20 meeting on anti-corruption working group, ED was the one to represent India here. Even for the Asia Pacific group for money laundering, it is ED from the side of India who participate and represent India in these meetings. Now, this leads me to next point, that when ED is doing so many things to prevent the economic offences, then why ED is often facing criticism by the public or by the political parties. So now let us look at different grounds of criticism against the ED. So first ground of criticism is lack of transparency in selecting and initiating the investigation by the ED. So it is often not clear that how ED actually selects the case that it wants to investigate. This leads me to the next point, that ED is often seen to be siding with the ruling party, which leads to opposition leaders often facing the investigation by the ED. When we look at the conviction rate out of ED registered cases, so it was 0 for the year 2005 and 2013 and 14. For the year 2014 and 15 and 2021 and 22, 23 convictions were there out of 888 registered cases. So these were certain grounds on which ED is often criticized, that it is not very transparent and is always supporting the ruling party. Do let me know in the comment box what are the other grounds on which ED might be criticized, or what are the grounds that is favoring the working of the ED. If you found the video useful and informative, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Before I end this video, I would like to make an important announcement about the upcoming summer boot camp by Get Set Law, the information regarding which is there in the description of this video. See you in the next video.